Hey, what's up, YouTubers? It's CJ Med again. Well, the Oscar nominations have been announced, and since Pixar's isn't being handed the award like so many years before us, I'm happy to say other studios are finally getting a chance in this category. So, I've decided to give my own personal review and consideration of all the movies nominated for Best Animation.
First up is Rango. An adventurous lizard that talks a big game struggles to live up to it in a lawless western town. I'm always wary of movies with Johnny Depp. Not that I don't think he's a good actor, I actually think he's a great actor, but I hate how movies that he's in tend to become all about him. But I really like this performance by him. I actually had to remind myself that it was him. The animation is undoubtedly professional looking. The detail could give an identical photograph a run for its money, and there are times you think, okay, now they're just showing off. Although I'm surprised they were able to get away with some of their jokes. Needless to say, it was talk of giblets and thespians. Plus, I'm sure a lot of younger viewers didn't get the Spirit of the West joke that captured adults and teenagers. And even the story, while very well written, I might add, also seemed more adult-oriented. I guess it's my only problem with the movie, which is hardly a problem to begin with.
Regardless, there's plenty in this movie for kids to enjoy. It's really unlike any other animation I've ever seen. My score? B+.
Next up in the nominations, A Cat in Paris. This quaint film involves a cat that leads a double life, living with a little girl named Zoe, who lost her father at the hands of a mob boss during the day, and traveling with a cat burglar at night. This was a pretty cute film. The animation does give an artistic atmosphere, and I do like the shadowing used throughout. But once in a while, you wonder if a child drew this. And maybe that adds a little bit of the whimsy to it, but it didn't really do it for me. The storyline wasn't as thrilling as I'd heard advertised, and the shortness of the film made it feel like no suspense lasted very long. This film was French-made, and in the 2 previous years, the Oscars have given nominations to movies not made in America. And even though I didn't particularly care for the other ones, A Cat in Paris doesn't live up to The Secret of Kells animation, or the depth of feeling of The Illusionist. Maybe this sounds harsh, but I'm kinda surprised it even got the nomination.
Give it a look for yourself, but I'm not too crazy about this film. I would have given this nomination to Rio, probably. My score? C-.
Next on the list, Kung Fu Panda 2. When a frightful new enemy emerges, Poe and company embark on a perilous journey to save China and the art of Kung Fu. I guess it's no surprise to anyone who follows me enough to know how much I loved the first Kung Fu Panda movie. And believe me when I say, I was scared out of my mind that this movie was gonna suck. But I'm happy to say my worries were unneeded. This movie not only lived up to the first one, it might have even been better. Considering most sequels, that's a very impressive thing. I was skeptical when I heard that for the movie's villain that they were following up a snow leopard with a peacock, but it turned out to be a great choice. Gary Oldman delivers a great performance as Lord Shen, and he's as much a tragical villain as Tai Lung was. All the performances from the original cast held up too, especially Jack Black as Poe, as expected. This movie was a lot more intense with the action, and they really used the 3D aspect to their advantage. It delves deep into Poe's mind as he finally questions his past and brings the audience to a darker side that we didn't get to see in the first film.
All bias aside, this really should be the winner at the Oscars. It's truly a masterpiece.
Next in our lineup is Puss in Boots. The dauntless feline of legend goes on an adventure to purloin a priceless golden egg-laying goose. To help him on his mission, Puss brings along his friends Humpty Dumpty and the super stealthy Kitty Softpaws. Now, like everyone, when I saw the trailer for this, I remember thinking, another Shrek movie? They're milking the success of those movies for all they're worth now. But at the same time, I thought that if any Shrek character deserved a spinoff, it was definitely Puss. He's a very likable character. And I was surprised to see how good this movie was. This movie, while keeping its relation to the Shrek movies, is still a standalone film, and does well on its own. This prequel movie shows Puss's life in an orphanage before the Shrek movies, and is reuniting with Humpty Dumpty, his childhood friend, who he still feels angry over an event in their past. This movie has a strong sense of friendship, which I really like. You really get a sense of how betrayed Puss feels to have been double-crossed by his friend, and how Humpty pleads that they can both move past it. Like Kung Fu Panda 2, this movie really handled the 3D aspect very well.
The humor was really well done in this movie, and I had a really good time watching this film. My score? B+.
Finally, we have the movie Chico and Rita. An aged pianist named Chico thinks back over his past and his misadventures with a beautiful singer named Rita. The strongest thing about this movie is the music. Whether they're in Cuba, New York, Las Vegas, or Paris, You definitely get a sense of the culture. I also like the points of view they use in this movie. A few times I felt like it was a live-action film with actual camera movements. Maybe it's a bit too many close-ups for some people's taste, but it made it feel real. The dialogue is clever and pretty decently written, although it's definitely an adult's movie. And I don't mean like what I said with Rango, where it was still marketed as a kid's movie. This was a movie that showed drug use, quite a few curse words, and a brief sex scene. So, I don't know how marketable it is, especially since there are several older people these days that won't admit to being, well, animation buffs.
Animation buff and proud of it.
Though I do have to admit the animation feels unstable, kinda like it's still in the early stages of becoming better animation. It definitely could have been better. To its credit, it does have a bit of a nostalgic feel, though. And being set throughout the 1950s, that's not such a bad thing.
I don't know how much I enjoyed this movie, but I certainly didn't think it was a bad one. My score, B-.
And those are the Oscar nominations for Best Animated Picture of 2011. What's your favorite, and what do you think will win? Well, you know me, I'm hoping for Kung Fu Panda 2 to win. Although I wouldn't be too upset if it went to Rango or Puss in Boots. I have a sneaking suspicion that the Oscar will eventually go to Rango, though, which won't be too bad. But this is going to be a hard one this year. But look at the plus side. It's not going to Cars 2.
So, this is CJ Met, signing out.